Okay, it's Nick here again. Alright, I'm still logged on. I don't know whether I've got enough time to completely do this video, but I'm going to give it a try. I received a very interesting private message from someone who recounted one particular variety of experience they had, but they were unsure as to whether it was real or not, to do with an orb and all kinds of fun stuff. But the question that they gave me is there any technique that has worked that I can suggest to a fellow experimental occultist where you've obtained results either from a meditative state or whatever? How can I have an experience like this again that actually appears to be happening, not a hallucination? I don't think it's quite that simple, because you build up a number of different experiences over a long period of time, and you kind of like put things together bit by bit, put ideas together bit by bit to try and work out what seems to be happening. It's more to do with finding a state of mind which you have felt before and trying to use it constructively. The best ways of learning how to play around with all this stuff is through meditation mainly, and doing a fair bit of it, but also trying to do interesting things on some more basic levels and then just expanding upon that basis to the point whereby you can do something a little bit more curious. So the ideas that come out of spiritual healing, trying to feel like the energy going between your fingers when you visualize like little bolts of lightning between your fingers, or between your hands when you hold your hands close together, and try and feel the energy and breathe. And as you breathe, breathe down. Visualize the light going down your arms and exiting your hands and pushing together. That can be an interesting way, and you learn the feeling. And it's all to do with getting to grips with what these various little feelings are associated with different experiences, and being able to learn how to discern which ones are more likely to be hallucination and which ones are less likely to be hallucination, and have another component to them. Then you can go from that on to exploring with other people, someone you're close to. Say, well, okay, so you're feeling a bit cold and trembly because you got a fever. I know nothing will probably happen, but do you mind if I practice some spiritual healing on you? And then just see what happens. And if they suddenly say that they felt mentally clearer afterwards, or they felt heat coming out of your hands, and you know something is happening. My personal belief, and it is just a belief, is that the orange chakra, if you know where that is somehow important in the generation of energy for that sort of thing. I don't quite know how or why, or indeed whether it should be, or indeed properly whether it is. But that seems to be important somehow, at least for me, because of the experiences and sensations I have. Learning how to go through the process of having those moments of change. I mean, some of it is to do with increasing your own body and mind awareness. Like when you've got a bad stomach, to sit there in meditation and try and work out where it is, what organs you can feel are unhappy, or where they are. Not because you're trying to diagnose yourself, but because you're trying to develop more of a feeling of how your internal organs are functioning. And you learn to feel the body, feel where it's warmer in your body or where it's less warm, and where the circulation's good and the circulation's bad. And then, although you're not doing it medically speaking, you're not doing it to try and cure yourself or treat yourself, try and use your mind when you're in those states to bring warmth where it's a bit colder, and try and move the the hypothetical spiritual healing energy around, and just see basically what happens. It's only when you've had an experiment or an experience of doing it on somebody else, and they've had a experience as a result, or seemingly as a result of what you've done, that you're one step closer to thinking that maybe something here is happening. Alright, again, using phrases such as it works is of course bloody stupid. We all know that. You've been watching my channel long enough to be able to say that. But after a while you do get some experiences that make you think, well, maybe this is a part of it, or maybe that is part of it. And you slowly increase your knowledge and experience with time. It doesn't mean to say that after 20 years of playing around with this stuff, you're all of a sudden a powerful magician, yes, because people who think like that, there's something wrong up there. They're not really functioning on all four cylinders, and they've watched The Lord of the Rings too many times when they were taking acid or whatever. That's just what they were like. They've lost their ability to reason, to think, to try and apply scientific reasoning. I mean, one of the reasons why I'm so keen on science is because going through the process of trying to work out what is most likely to be true under some circumstances in a regular scientific experiment, whether it's a social science thing, whether it's a psychological science thing, whether it's a physical science thing, is part of the process of learning what won't be the most likely thing to have that particular effect, okay? But the problem is the vast majority of people on the face of this planet are thick as two short planks and have chosen not to pay attention when going through middle school science class, okay? It really is that simple. And yeah, I mean, yeah, I went to university, I did my sociology and psychology, we did experiments, we did, you know, and I did open university, and we did experiments on rats in Skinner boxes and all that kind of stuff. And the more of that stuff that I've done, the more it's taught me, or is ingrained in me, the way of thinking about how to try and work out what is most likely to be true and what is less likely to be true, and to be able to make that discernment, okay? So what I try and do is to apply that thinking to my search for strange experiences. Okay, I don't end up levitating, I don't end up finding the cure for cancer, I don't end up, you know, suddenly making money appear in my hands so that I can go and have a wild time, or you know, whatever. No, but what I do is, you know, I'm treating this like a hobby, but a hobby which is interesting and somehow latches onto and connects with the world. All right, because it's my opinion that if something happens in the natural world, it has to, by its very nature, be natural. So if you do have a ghost experience which is not likely to be a hallucination, okay, then you're closer to getting somewhere. All right, so it's all, you know, moving you further forward bit by bit as far as your, you know, empire of understanding about the way the world could actually be is concerned. It's not really as simple as, is there a technique which can do this? It's more a question of, is there a way of life which you can construct as a result of your own research, which can bring you to the point that you're looking for at this stage in your own development, and the stages in your development in the future, right? And some people, because of their culture and their background, they may be more likely to say, well, do you do it through following our religion, because they're, you know, thick. But there may be things within their religion which can be part of the process of getting to have some of the strange experiences, which will then point to something which is true in the way the universe works. Although they will be looking at it purely from a religious point of view, whereas I would look at it from a point of view of, this is to do with life, this is to do with being an organic creature with consciousness, this is to do with something to do with the way the brain and the body and the nervous system is created, or evolved, or has manifested itself, or appeared, or whatever the phrase you want to use is, because, you know, there's questions, not answers, okay? And play with it, you know. The more you play with it, the better it gets. Kind of. So my suggestion would be, don't stop because you've had a failure. Okay, within regular science, when you have had a failure, you haven't had a failure. What you've done is you've had an experience from which you can gain some knowledge. So when I was going through Wicca and paganism, there were always these people who would say that this, that, and the other is the technique or the way of doing things, and I would follow this, that, or the other, the technique that they spoke about, the tradition, yes, the tradition, oh, fuck them. Fuck them. And hey presto, it didn't work. Because what I'd learned was that closely adhering to a particular religious tradition will only turn you into a religious traditional person. It won't turn you into someone who is trying to find out about the world. Alright? That's the distinction. That's what, you know, has to be put out there. That's what people have to learn. Alright? And when you've had a strange experience, it doesn't prove something which is part of your own spirituality, or part of your own religiosity or something. It just shows you that there are some kinds of strange experiences which you can have. Alright, you can have the experiences, but we, you know, not in my lifetime, we're not going to know what these things mean. Probably not in your lifetime. Possibly not even in your children's lifetime. But at some point in the future, as a species, we'll understand this stuff. Alright, which means we've got to act against people who are cutting down upon, you know, the desire to explore and experiment and find out more and ask questions. And yeah, the use of all of these occult toys such as tarot and Ouija boards and pendulum dowsing, it's all part of trying to get closer to the truth. Alright, but they are toys. I've got my dowsing pendulum right here. I keep it on my desk in its own little box all the time because I use it quite a lot, alright, for fun. It's not a question of, God damn it, where's my front door key? You know, it's more a question of, hey, let's just play around with this thing and see, well, what happens and what we can do with it. And maybe it is truly, you know, a voice from spiritual guidance, which is communicating to my subconscious mind, making me have those little muscular movements of my arm, which then makes the crystal move. Maybe it actually is. But on the other hand, maybe it isn't. Maybe it's the ideomotor effect, so I tend to talk more about the ideomotor effect, because if that's the thing which brings people closer to wanting to explore more, then great. But maybe there is more to it than that. Alright, you know, that's a question. There's a question mark at the end of it, okay? That means it's a question, okay? It does not mean to say it is a hard and fast proof positive, because a question is not an answer, alright? And if some people say that they have proof of one particular spiritual interpretation because they've had an experience, the likelihood of that being true is very, very slim. Okay? It's very slim. What's more important is that we carry on trying to learn. In my opinion. Okay? And it is my opinion. There are other people out there who say, no, the colour yellow definitely means this, or the colour blue definitely means that. Well, if blue means tranquility and spirituality and healing to you, why is it in another tradition or another culture that the colour blue means despair? You know what I mean? Why? You know. Anyway, that's enough of me rambling, but get on the path of exploration, okay? Just do it. Doesn't take up too much time in your day, it's fun, it's recreational, and even if you just learn how to meditate and it releases your stress just a bit, then essentially you've still got something positive from it. That's all I'll say for now. Keep watching, more fun stuff is coming.